In this video, I'm going to talk about really about how to think about what we want and why it's so hard to figure out what we want sometimes, and especially why it's hard to imagine or dream about the things that we want or the goals that we'd like to have. So, if you've read any books on manifestation or how to go for your goals and make dreams come into reality, what most of the books say is step one, figure out what you want. And step two, spend some time really imagining it, dreaming about it. And the idea, at least in the manifestation circles, is that if you're imagining these things and as if they've already happened, and you spend enough time doing that, that the universe will bring these things to you. And I will say, over the years, I've actually become a fan of this, even though there's a part of me that's a little bit more scientific that questions that. But here's the problem that I have with it. Here's the problem that I have with it. Um, Step one, think about what you want. And what I've found in my experience is at times it's really hard to even kind of put my finger on, okay, this is what I want. This is a future that I'd like to imagine for myself. So that could be a tricky step, and that's what I want to talk about here. And then I also want to talk about step two. It's imagining that this has already come to pass. So when it comes to figuring out what you want, what I found is a lot of times I'm sitting there and going, well, what is it that I do want? And it's almost as if my brain doesn't want to show me things that I might like. I know that sounds strange, but I'll think about something and it's like immediately it's like the picture goes away. And so this is something that I was curious about for many years. Like, why was it that I was having trouble figuring out or really admitting to myself that this is something that I want, and also picturing it. And what I realized is at times it was as if I wasn't sure that I could get something, or even if I thought, well, if this isn't possible, my brain didn't want to show it to me. And I believe that some of that came from the idea that if something isn't possible, then it's kind of it can be a little bit depressing to think, well, this is something that I want and I can't get it. Makes sense, right? If it's like somebody holding some nice shiny thing in front of you and saying, see this beautiful thing, you can't have it. So I almost feel that at least for myself and for many people that I talk to, there's almost like a protective mechanism in place. Like, you know what, if I can't have this, I don't even want to picture it because that would just disturb me. So I think that's the problem in the first area. It's hard to entertain possibilities if part of you doesn't think it's possible to get those things. And then certainly when it comes to the second step, like let's say I decide, okay, there's a beautiful new guitar that I want, but it's really expensive and down deep, I don't think I can afford it. Again, at least my brain, when I try to imagine having it, part of my brain says, that's not possible. And it's sort of saying, why are you picturing this? It's not possible, and you're only going to be disappointed. So what can we do about this? I think there are a couple possible hacks that you can do to at least kind of open up the floodgates of imagining things that you don't have yet, or that you don't know how they're going to be possible yet. And I think that's the first key. Is it may seem like something isn't possible, and would it be okay to picture it anyway, and to picture it and just enjoy the fantasy of it? Is it okay to just enjoy pretending? Right? There's a lot of things. I can't fly, but I can pretend I can fly, and it's actually really fun. And sometimes I have dreams where I fly, and it's really fun. And and I'm sure you've had dreams about things that you didn't think were possible, and maybe you at least enjoyed the dream of it, the fantasy of it. And I think that's a good first step. Um, and the the thing that I started questioning is it inherently sad to pretend something, even if you don't think that it's likely or possible? Now, we can never really know what's possible in a certain sense. I can only say for sure that there have been countless things that I really thought wouldn't be possible in my lifetime that are possible. I didn't think there would be a whole industry of electric cars, and now it's completely common. I really didn't think that would come to pass. Um, I didn't think there would be people jumping off mountains in squirrel suits and flying down the mountain. That's possible. That's getting close to flight, even though I can't just jump off a building and fly. Uh, so I think even pretending something is a good first step. And then the worst that can happen is that maybe part of it will be possible, or maybe the whole thing will be possible. So if you can at least get yourself to pretend, then you could see. Because what if you were wrong all these years? What if all those things that you thought were really impossible were quite possible for you? Um, I've found many examples in my life where I just thought something was impossible. I remember, uh, you know, before I even considered going back to grad school, I never considered it because I just didn't consider myself a grad school kind of person. And then one day I noticed the belief, and I thought, well, that's where did that come from? Like, it may not be easy, but where did I get the idea that it wasn't possible or that I wasn't that type of person? And then it was amazing. The minute I noticed the belief, and in that case, I just started questioning it. It was like a whole cascade of possibility opened up where I thought, well, okay, maybe it is possible. Where might I like to go? And all of a sudden, I got to really enjoy thinking of all these different places that I could go and different experiences I could have. So I think that's a good second step in terms of really imagining something happening. So let's say there's a job that you'd like, and for whatever reason you don't think it's possible. Um, for a moment, just pretend it, and then if you start to ask yourself more detailed questions, at least for me, that can help me step into it more fully to allow myself to imagine it. It's like, well, what would it be like to walk into that company, wherever that job is, and what would my interactions be like, and what would it feel like to go there and sit at my desk, and what things would I accomplish there, and what would I feel like at night going home. So all these detailed questions help me sort of step into something a little bit more fully as I'm getting used to it, as I'm getting used to the possibility of it. And then what I found in my life is, even if that particular job or scenario doesn't open up, one thing that invariably happens is I start noticing other places where I can experience something similar. And I probably wouldn't have noticed those possibilities had I not been entertaining this idea. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I really enjoyed going fishing, and the first couple times that I went fishing, I always went to the same sort of pond on the same river. But after a while, after going there a couple times, a friend took me to another place. And after going to that second place, every time I would see a little stream, I'd think, huh, that might be a good place to go fishing. And I had never thought about that before. But it was as soon as I was introduced to that, then I started spotting opportunities for that everywhere. So the next time, if there's something that you think you might want, but for whatever reason you're not able to picture it, ask yourself, well, what if I just pretend this? And would that be okay to pretend for a little while? And then begin to ask yourself more detailed questions. And I think you might be surprised at the different opportunities that you see open up for yourself.